The air inside the SSE Arena in Belfast wasn't just loud, it was heavy. It was the kind of atmosphere that presses down on your chest and makes it hard to breathe, the kind of electricity that tells you, before a single bell has rung, that you are standing on the precipice of history. We thought we knew what we were getting tonight. We thought we were getting a celebration, a homecoming, a standard night of Monday Night Raw on the road to WrestleMania. We were wrong. By the time the final credits rolled, we were left looking at the shattered remnants of a legacy and a gamble so massive, so reckless, that it could only be born from the desperation of a man who knows his time is running out. Tonight, a career was placed on the chopping block, a prince returned to his kingdom, and the landscape of the Royal Rumble was rewritten in the blood and sweat of the industry's finest. This is the night the desperate became dangerous. This is the night the ring general was forced to blink. Welcome back to SLAMZONE. Before we unravel the absolute madness that took place in Northern Ireland, I need you to take a breath and look around. We are building something special here, a community of people who don't just watch wrestling, we live it. If you felt that shiver down your spine when the music hit tonight, if you feel the passion for this business in your bones, then you are already part of this family. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right now. Leave a comment, share this video, and ring that notification bell. It's the only way to ensure you never miss a beat of the action. Join us in the trenches. Let's break this down together. The night opened with a tension so sharp you could cut yourself on it. Gunther, the ring general. The man who has redefined dominance in the modern era stood in the center of the ring, bathed in the spotlight, looking less like a wrestler and more like a monolith. He didn't come out to make friends, he came out to set the record straight. He admitted to a mistake, a rare moment of vulnerability, but quickly brushed it aside like dust on his coat. The past is the past, he said. His eyes were fixed on the future, on the Royal Rumble match, on the destiny he believes is his birthright. But destiny has a funny way of interrupting your plans. When AJ Styles' music hit, the roof nearly blew off the arena in Belfast. But this wasn't the confident, swaggering AJ Styles we're used to. This was a man haunted. He walked to the ring with a heaviness in his step, the weight of a loss to Gunther still crushing his spirit. Styles grabbed the mic, and you could hear the tremor in his voice, not fear, but a burning, consuming need for redemption. He demanded a rematch at the Royal Rumble. He needed to prove that the first time was a fluke, an error, a bad night. Gunther's response? Cold, calculated, brutal. He looked AJ Styles in the eye and told him, simply, no. I don't want to work twice as hard, Gunther said, dismissing a legend like he was a rookie. You have nothing to offer me. He turned his back. He actually turned his back on the phenomenal one and began to walk away. It was the ultimate insult. It was a dismissal that said, you are beneath my notice. And that is when the desperation took over. Styles called him a coward. The word hung in the air like a slap. Gunther stopped. He turned back, a smirk playing on his lips, and dismantled Styles verbally. He told him he wasn't scared, he was just efficient. He had beaten Styles not because he was lucky, but because he was better. He called Styles a scared little dog, barking at a car he couldn't catch. It was a verbal undressing, stripping away Styles' accolades until he was just a man begging for a fight he couldn't win. Gunther walked away again. The segment seemed over. The crowd was jeering, desperate for the fight, but the ring general was done. And then, AJ Styles dropped the nuclear option. I'll put my career on the line. Silence. Absolute, deafening silence fell over Belfast. Gunther froze on the ramp. The camera zoomed in on his face, and you could see the gears turning. The ultimate prize. The scalp of a legend. To be the man who retired AJ Styles. The ring general turned around, and the predator was back in his eyes. Unless you're scared, Gunther had mocked earlier, but now, the tables had turned. Styles wasn't scared, he was all in. Gunther accepted. At the Royal Rumble, it is Gunther versus AJ Styles. If Styles loses, his career is over. Let that sink in for a moment. We aren't just watching a match, we are watching a potential funeral for one of the greatest careers in wrestling history. The stakes have never been higher, and the emotion in Styles' eyes sold it perfectly. This wasn't a script. This was a man pushing all his chips into the center of the table because he cannot live with the failure of being second best. Now, shifting gears to the chaotic mid-card, we saw a situation that was equal parts confusing and mesmerizing. Becky Lynch defending the Intercontinental Championship against Maxine Dupri. On paper, this is a mismatch. Becky is the man, a seasoned veteran, a warrior. Maxine is still finding her footing. But the X-factor here was Natalya. Natalya, the veteran, the dungeon graduate, stood at ringside supporting Maxine. But as the match progressed, a match filled with tentative grappling and the classic clash of experience versus enthusiasm, something snapped. We saw the confusion in the ring. Maxine was looking for guidance, looking for her coach to help her secure the biggest win of her life. Instead, she got a betrayal wrapped in a mistake. Natalya put her foot out. It looked like help, but it was a trap. Becky Lynch, ever the opportunist, used the confusion to her advantage. She capitalized on the chaos, hitting the manhandle slam and retaining her title. But the story wasn't the win, it was the aftermath. Maxine, eyes wide with shock, couldn't understand why her mentor had cost her the match. Natalya didn't offer an apology. She offered a fist. The post-match beatdown was swift and aggressive. This wasn't the smiling, heart-dungeon Natalya we've seen lately. This was a frustrated veteran taking out her anger on the new generation. She punched Maxine, slapped the taste out of her mouth, and left her lying in the ring. The message was clear: the mentorship is over. The rivalry has begun. It was a messy, chaotic segment, but it injected some much-needed animosity into the division. Speaking of animosity, let's talk about the backstage tension that is bubbling over like a pot left on the stove too long. Adam Pearce, the general manager who looks more tired every single week, had his hands full. The New Day, frustrated and feeling overlooked, stormed in demanding a tag team title shot. It's Martin Luther King Day, they argued, a day of importance, and they traveled all the way to Belfast for nothing? Pearce, looking like he was managing a crisis center rather than a wrestling show, shut them down. Next week, he said. It was a brush-off, and you could see the frustration on Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston's faces. They are legends, pillars of the tag division, and they are being told to wait in line. This is a powder keg waiting to explode. The New Day doesn't take disrespect lightly, and Adam Pearce is playing a dangerous game by ignoring the veterans of his locker room. And then, there was the comedy or the tragedy, depending on your perspective of Imperium. Ludwig Kaiser, looking sharp as a tack but with an attitude that could sour milk, decided to antagonize the Belfast crowd. He claimed he couldn't understand them, mocking the local accent, treating the passionate Irish fans like second-class citizens. But the retort from American Alpha, or what's left of the faction, was pure gold. Calling Kaiser a stupid gringo, a delicious bit of irony given the geography, was a moment of levity in a night filled with high stakes. But underneath the jokes, you can see Kaiser is on a different level right now. His confidence is sky high. He believes he is the future, and frankly, with the way he carries himself, he might be right. But we have to talk about the main event. The reason Belfast was shaking. Finn Balor versus CM Punk. The World Heavyweight Championship. If you know anything about wrestling history, you know what Finn Balor means to the UK and Ireland wrestling scene. He is the prince. He is the forefather. And tonight, he didn't come out to the Judgment Day theme. He didn't come out to the spooky, rhythmic beats we've grown accustomed to. No. Tonight, the speakers blasted the old theme. The rock and roll. The leather jacket. The swagger. The prince was back in Belfast, and the crowd reaction was something you have to hear to believe. It was a guttural roar, a mix of love, respect, and pure adrenaline. CM Punk, the champion, the controversial figure, the man who divides opinion like no other, walked into hostile territory. He knew he wasn't the favorite tonight. He knew he was the villain in this story, the man standing in the way of the hometown hero's coronation. And Punk, to his credit, leaned into it. He didn't pander. He didn't try to be the cool guy. He wrestled a match that was gritty, ugly, and brilliant. The match lasted 16 minutes, but it felt like a lifetime. It was a chess match. Balor, feeding off the energy of his people, was faster, sharper. He was hitting dropkicks with the precision of a sniper. He was moving like water, flowing around Punk's attacks. Punk, on the other hand, was methodic. He slowed the pace down. He used holds to suck the air out of the building. He was working the body, grinding Balor down, trying to silence the thousands of screaming fans. There was a moment, about 12 minutes in, where it looked like the dream was going to become reality. Balor hit the sling blade. He climbed to the top rope. The coup de grace. The move that has finished off champions all over the world. The crowd stood up as one, 20,000 people holding their breath. Balor leaped. Punk moved. The crash of Balor's feet hitting the canvas echoed through the arena. The pain on his face was immediate. Punk, sensing the blood in the water, locked in the anaconda vice. The drama in that submission hold, Balor reaching for the ropes, the crowd screaming no, no, Punk wrenching back on the neck. It was masterful storytelling. Balor fought out of it, showing the heart of a lion, but the damage was done. The finish was controversial, as it often is with Punk. A scramble, a poke to the eye that the referee missed, or maybe just a moment of veteran instinct where Punk caught Balor off guard. The go-to-sleep connected. The 1-2-3 was academic. CM Punk retained. The air went out of the building. The hometown hero had fallen. But here is where the analysis gets spicy. Some people are saying this was a boring match. Some are saying Punk is slow, that he can't keep up with guys like Balor. I say look closer. Look at the psychology. Punk didn't try to outflip Balor. He dragged him into deep water and drowned him. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't a fireworks display. It was a fight. And while it would have been a beautiful moment to give Balor the title in front of his home crowd even for just 11 days until the Rumble, WWE stuck to their guns, they are keeping the belt on Punk. They are building his aura as the man who can go into enemy territory and walk out with the gold. It hurts for the fans in Belfast. It hurts for everyone who wanted that moment. But it cements Punk as the top dog heading into the Royal Rumble. And speaking of the Rumble, the build is intensifying. GUSO declared he is entering. He wants to win it back-to-back. A bold claim. A second win would validate him in a way the first one didn't. It would prove he isn't just a merchandise seller, he is a main event player. The LWO, Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, they are all circling the wagon. Everyone wants a ticket to WrestleMania. The desperation is palpable. We saw it in the eyes of Austin Theory tonight. The young prospect, the man who was supposed to be the future, took the pin in the tag match against the LWO. He tried to take on the world and got swallowed whole. It's a cautionary tale. In the WWE, momentum is everything. One day you're the protege of Vince McMahon, the next you're eating pins in a mid-card tag match. Theory needs to find himself, and fast, or the Royal Rumble will chew him up and spit him out. And what about the women's tag division? The tension between Asuka and Kairi Sane is thick enough to cut with a katana. The Kabuki Warriors are legendary, but cracks are forming. Asuka was yelling, screaming at Kairi for mistakes. Kairi looked apologetic, but for how long? How long does a warrior take the abuse before she strikes back? The way Asuka treats her partner is borderline abusive, and while they are deadly together, a team divided cannot stand. Keep your eyes on them during the Rumble match. I predict an implosion. As we look toward the Royal Rumble, the pieces are moving on the chessboard. Gunther vs AJ Styles with a career on the line is the headline. That is the match that will define the night. But don't sleep on the undercurrents. The frustration of the New Day, the evolution of GUSO, the cold calculation of Ludwig Kaiser, and the reign of CM Punk, which seems to be getting more entrenched by the day. This episode of Raw from Belfast wasn't perfect. It had its slow moments. It had its confusing booking decisions, but it delivered on the emotion. It gave us stakes. It gave us a reason to care about AJ Styles in a way we haven't in years. It reminded us that time is the ultimate enemy of every wrestler, and that the end comes for everyone eventually. I want to know what you guys think. Was Gunther right to deny the rematch initially? Is AJ Styles crazy for putting his career on the line? And what did you make of the main event? Was it a masterclass in psychology or a slow burn that fizzled out? Let me know in the comments section below. I read every single one of them. We are building this community together, and your voice matters. Ladies and gentlemen, the road to WrestleMania is paved with broken dreams and shattered bodies. Tonight, we saw the cracks in the pavement. We saw the desperation of legends. And we saw that in the WWE, nothing is ever guaranteed. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please, do me a solid. Smash that like button until it breaks. Subscribe to SLAMZONE if you haven't already. Join the family. We are here every week, breaking down the good, the bad, and the ugly of professional wrestling. Hit that notification bell so you're the first to know when we go live. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your passion. This sport is nothing without you. Until next time, keep your head on a swivel, because in the SLAMZONE, you never know what's coming next. I'm out.